think about moving all the Jews to Western Europe.
The real story is not the numbers killed, but all the Jews of town after town, village after village. It's Maishela and Shloimela, it's Chanala and Rivkala, it's Leila. It's family by family, person by person, one by one by one, bullet by bullet by bullet.
I think the Einsatzgruppen were overlooked partly because the Holocaust of the Einsatzgruppen took place in what was then the Soviet Union and for many years since was the Soviet Union. And correspondingly, I think it was difficult to do the historical research. So much of the information on the subject really has emerged since the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1990, which wasn't that long ago.
The fact that there are people who were murdered, who rest in unmarked graves in people's gardens or in areas that are subject to economic development, you could have supermarkets built on these graves, is a kind of second victimization of these people.
Since 4 or 5 years, we covered 50% of Ukraine and found nearly 850 extermination sites and interviewed 823 witnesses. Each interview is a way to rebuild the crime. So it's not what do you feel, what do you think? It's to say, do you remember the first time the German came in your village? Where was the car coming from this side or from this other side? And little by little, we reveal the crime.
It's 1 minute to midnight, if not 30 seconds to midnight, to identify these killing fields. And you have this incredible operation of Father Dubois, Roman Catholic priest, who is offering the bystanders the possibility of confession.
Ну, один цоколь жінок, один тих, один з дітьми, один без дітей. Там же так не сортували, нас же не пускали, але ми бачили, що вони так, як виводять, то виводять жінок. А як виводять, відділять мужчин. Ми тут пасли корови, я кажу, а вони були випивші і туди не хотіли вести. А просто йшли, завели до нас, хальт, панфлюхтер, і ми пігнали. Ну ж корови собі пасуться, корову ж я на тімні, корови вільно, без шнурка. І ми йшли, а я чую, пав. Ну, ми так глянули, там люди, крові. А потім смерділо. За 2 дні такий сморід був страшний, що потім...
He's talking to them now as old people, and he's mining their memories. These people are helping him find the graves, but he's helping them, in a sense, to unpack the memories that were formed on that day. These are kids who, in most cases, had no participation in the murders themselves, but they were participants in the sense that they witnessed it, and they have these memories inside them. And they tell him in a way that is remarkable to observe.
А як тут із поїзда батьки викидали дітей, ті діти лежали, то сама на свої очі бачила, що дитина втікла до села. Поліцай, такі колійові були поліцаї. Він 7 разів в ту дитину стріляв.
От повели їх, через крохи, як узяли стріляти, як узяли бити, то ми тоді не робили, не плакали.
Їх покладуть радок, пробив, то живий, не живий, кладуть знов.
Я не знаю, як забили, як я йшла до баби, то я йшла, то той поліціянт 2 діток посадив.
А, то я знаю.
Коло школи, отак посадив.
Маленьких.
Отак маленьких, о. Да при мені стріляв. То я так злякалася. Всі кровники хліб держали в руках.
These were not anonymous victims. These were respected members of the community up until the time of the shootings in some cases. And I think this local, intimate community character of these murders is what makes them so horrific for us to even consider.
We were looking for what happened in the killing place, and somebody told me there is an old lady here. She was there, and I made an interview, and I said, "You were here?" Yes, at 5 in the morning they saw me, and they told me to come with my spade, and say, "What did you do?" So I ran to see my mother, and I say, "What must I do?" And she said, "You have to go, otherwise they will kill you." We were asked to go down in the mass grave. They were shooting Jews. Immediately after the shooting, we had to go down with our spade and with our naked feet to walk on the corpse to make them flat and to put a little bit of sand so the other Jews could go quickly in the mass grave.
И вот оно все запомнилось, как бы это вчера было. Также же, говорят, стоны были там. Они когда их зарыли, это мешало, или бульдозером, или телопатами, ну, в общем, неизвестно, но сверху прикрыли это все. Да вот стоны были. И слышно, что там живых много оставалось, потому что они ж так, может, ранили, а может, человек так уже с перепугу падал уже за своими, как говорится. Вот слышны были стоны, крики.
One old lady, she was laying in her bed, and she told me, "I was still living here when I was a child, and I still wonder why they killed 1,000 Jews in front of my window." And we're looking by the window, saw the mass grave just in front, and she's dying in front of the mass grave. Without any memorial, she's the only witness. That's also the great fear that we have. The last witnesses sometimes are on their bed dying, and the mass grave is just in front of the house, but where they will be dead, who will know? Nobody.
By 1943, it was obvious that Germany was losing the war, and in particular, the Russians had turned the tide and were beginning to move inexorably toward Germany, ultimately, of course, to end up in Berlin in 1945. But the Einsatzgruppen leadership realized that they were going to have to cover up their crimes, not simply leave these pits covered with a foot of dirt all over Eastern Europe and Russia. Paul Blobel was assigned at the beginning to be one of the officers in the Einsatzgruppen, but he was really traumatized by some of the early mass killings that he directed. The leader's punishment was to give Blobel the assignment of digging up and burning all these hundreds of thousands of bodies. And then at the end of the war, Blobel became one of the key figures in the Nuremberg trial number 9 of the Einsatzgruppen that was run by a young American named Ben Ferenc, and was, in the course of time, duly hanged for his crimes.
The case we present is a plea of humanity to law.